In this podcast, I'm going to describe to you two types of godly men and the type of woman they likely need. And though these are indeed both men of God, they are on two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And so the first prototype will be the most obvious to you, as he will mirror the common picture of a man of God, often, propped up in religious circles. Whereas the second is still a man of God, just not by traditional religious standards. God doesn't choose the way man chooses, and the men he chose to be in his book, especially the ones where their relationships were highlighted, is all strategical, so that when the time comes to be with the man he has for you, you don't overlook him because you're thinking a godly man only looks one way. A godly man does not equate to a perfect man, meaning he may not have a perfect past and he may not be perfect presently when you meet him, but that doesn't make him any less of a man of God, because it is God who qualifies the called. It is God who uses the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, the ones who think they know exactly what a godly relationship is supposed to look like. Now, please note that these are prototypes and they are general interpretations and are designed to simply expand your paradigm on what God has in store for you when it comes to love. And so the first man of God that I'm describing is, again, likely the kind that you are familiar with. He is the King Lemuel prototype, as described by Bathsheba. Lemuel means devoted to God. And so this is a man who has pretty much lived his life on the straight and narrow. He's lived his life on the up and up. There is a consecrated devotion and discipline that comes forth through this man's life. He reminds me kind of like the John the Baptist or the Nazarite types, in that he lives and models certain strict disciplines, and he is likely very rigid about them, allowing him to be, very consistent in his lifestyle. John the Baptist didn't drink wine. He didn't drink strong drinks. He wasn't about the alcohol and was very consecrated in his daily life and what he ate, his routine of devotion to the Lord, and so on. Similarly, those who took the Nazarite vow, they didn't drink wine. They didn't drink strong drinks. They didn't cut their hair, etc. They lived very set apart. And likewise, a man who walks in the King Lemuel prototype is a man who likely doesn't drink alcohol and has a very routine, productive, almost cookie cutter way about him. And he likes it that way. This is a man who takes pride in denying himself of worldly lusts, and he has learned a structured way of being in his life. This is, again, a man that is disciplined. He likely has not had a lot of women. In college, he wasn't the partying and drinking type. Though he may have tried those things, it just that wasn't him. This is the type of man that doesn't do things and partake in things that take him off his square. He likes to be calculated. He likes to know what he's doing. He likes to know what's going on. And so he wasn't the partying type. This man had goals. He kept his focus on those goals. He isn't the type to be distracted. He's focused. He's sober-minded. He could be athletic, maybe play sports, or is the type to work out multiple times a week. Just those types of things that exude discipline in his life. He is very smart about his money and doesn't spend it frivolously. So he wouldn't have been the guy going to the strip club with the boys throwing, money around, because quite frankly, he's more interested in opportunities that will make him money. He is the investment type. Okay. He could have been the kind of kid who would mow lawns in the neighborhood growing up. He knows how to hustle. He knows how to make money. He doesn't engage in things that could take him out of character or make him act in a way where he doesn't feel like he's in control. This type of man is confident and productive in his life, probably eats healthy and clean, and, isn't the type that's going to binge on junk food. And, he doesn't give himself over to idle things of this world, the types of things that destroy men and hold them back from reaching their highest potential. He is not the Samson type where he's gonna fall for a Delilah and then she's gonna, leave him high and dry. That's not him. He's calculated. He's always thinking ahead. This prototype is always striving to be better, and he carries kind of like this CEO air about him, regardless of what his career path is, or what he, has chosen to do for work, because he's a leader and he's not afraid to stand alone. He's not afraid to be the odd one out. He's not afraid to be independent and to do his own thing. Even though he's likely not confrontational, he still isn't the type to just go along with the crowd, so to speak. He's honest and just and makes wise decisions, weighing the present and future variables in order to render the most predictable and sufficient outcome. He also may be very green in the bedroom. If he isn't in fact a virgin, he likely has not been intimate with many women. He was likely the type when he was younger to have one girlfriend for an extended period of time, or as an adult, he's probably the type that is very clear and decisive and certain about the type of woman he wants. And so he's not spending a bunch of money going on a bunch of dates and that type of thing. He knows what he wants, and he knows that he's going to recognize it when he comes across it. And so he also likely goes to church regularly. Okay, so Bible studies, men's groups, that type of thing. He's probably active and consistent in church ministry and is happy with the simple life. He's a one woman type of man. Okay, this prototype likely desires a woman that offers the same predictability and security that he already has in his life. Now, if she is a sophisticated and classy woman in the streets and a freak in the bed, then that's a bonus for him. But the type of woman this prototype is likely looking for is going to be a woman that proves herself to be safe, a woman that proves herself to be sober-minded and mentally stable. This prototype doesn't go for the women that are trying to keep up with the Joneses and the latest fashion trends and that type of thing, but rather a woman who is well put together and kind of has like a almost regal feel to her. She too is likely business-minded and able to take care of home and also bring other things to the table. And they likely will both work and build generational wealth together. Okay, the type of woman for this man is not the seductive type, not the flirtatious type, the one that's going to be flirting with other men. No, the type of woman for him would be a woman who is clear on her boundaries, who likely is probably very intentional about the way she conducts herself around other brothers in the Lord at church. And, she's the type of woman that he wouldn't have to question whether she would be loyal or whether she would cheat and that type of thing. She's likely the type of woman that carries a lot of peace as well. She may have spent significant time waiting on the Lord, waiting before the Lord, trusting the Lord to bring her godly man, trusting the Lord to bring her this type of man. And so because this woman is kind of like, the Anna type, the ones that can wait before the Lord, she has this calmness and this stillness and this kindness to her. She's a wise woman too. She is skilled at building her house. She's intelligent. She's smart. She probably went to college or has had a good job. She probably prefers modesty and is likely involved in helps ministry things in her church or in her community. Just she's the type of woman where she doesn't mind serving and she doesn't mind teaching those who are younger than her, whether they're younger in age or just younger in their walk in the Lord. And because of this, she enjoys the structure and doesn't mind how orderly her man can be, and the fact that he has a very old school holiness way about him. Now, on the flip side, the opposite side of the spectrum of a godly man, we're going to look at the Solomon prototype. And Solomon means man of peace. And so it is likely that a man with this prototype has a lot going on internally. This is a deep thinker. This is a philosophical type of man. And so peace of mind and rest from his wanderings may be something his soul is longing for. Now, Solomon also is called Jedediah, which means beloved of the Lord. And so though this prototype is God's man, his design is very different than the King Lemuel type that Bathsheba describes. Now, it's also interesting to note that some scholars speculate whether King Lemuel was indeed a nickname of sorts that Solomon's mom would call him. But nevertheless, let's dive into this contrast. So where the Lemuels of the world may be, again, more inexperienced when it comes to sex, the Solomon prototype is definitely the type of godly man that has been around the block, okay? And could very well easily be labeled as a hoe, respectfully, in certain seasons of his life. And see, this is what fascinates me, that this is a man that God has chosen to put on display in his book as it pertains to love and relationships, because to, just the regular person that's just observing from the outside, the Solomon type doesn't come close to measuring up to what traditionally one would describe as a godly man, because of his struggles, because of his brokenness, because of his flaws, because of his past, and yet God saw his heart. And so all of those things didn't disqualify him from love just because his journey didn't mirror the traditional man of God type. And so this is a man of variety. He has likely traveled and is cultured. This man also enjoys a variety of types of women. He likely doesn't discriminate and has definitely spent time sowing his wild oats. He could have been a playboy in the past, having many sexual partners, threesomes and the like, and could have even been unopposed to polygamy in his younger years. And by younger, I mean it could literally be an age or when he was young and immature minded. Now, this is a man who has a thirst for life. He's, again, a wanderer and a searcher. He's a seer and a dreamer. God likely speaks to him in his dreams or gives him, spiritual guidance through others, maybe around him, maybe through, a mother figure or others who can see his godly potential. He may even remember older mothers, like in the church, when he was younger, who would pray and prophesy and speak life over him. And for that reason, that's something that this type of man holds dear. And for that reason, the type of woman that would be the best match for him would be a woman who has those old traditions of holiness instilled in her. Now, this Solomon prototype is a man who has a desire for the finer things in life. He doesn't settle. He has a certain swag about himself. He likely isn't the nerdy, nervous type around women. He dresses well, probably has expensive taste, likely has a nice body, smells good, and is a man's man with a soft heart. And in his younger, less mature days, he likely objectified women and saw them as prizes to be won. But it was his ego, it was his wounding. When this man is healed, he is a protector of women. He is, you think about the once pimps or, misogynist types who later turn out to be the ones giving women all the tea on what types of men to avoid and what types of games men play, because they once were those types of men. Now, this is a man who also could be creative. He likely has a very charming way about him. He carries a lot of favor and is personable and easy to like. He makes good money and is the type to be admired in his career path. Whatever path he chooses, he will have this ability to rise to the top because of his wisdom. Now, when he's unhealed, he may use his wisdom for manipulation, especially since he has a way of getting women to fall for him by feeding into the ideals of what he knows that woman wants, while probably deep down knowing that he either can't be that for her right now or is not interested or willing to be the type of man that he knows she needs. This is the type of prototype that also has a deep longing to understand God, to understand life, to understand the mysteries of God. And because of that, he may feel empty in different seasons of his life and will try to fill those voids that are deep within with more money or more material things or more women, etc. He may even struggle with addictive traits or substance abuse or depression and the like. And so he may use these different substances as a means of escape. And I feel like these types of things are important to mention. You know, just because he's a godly man doesn't mean he's a perfect man. Okay, God is so intentional in scripture about showing us the shortcomings of these men who are indeed after God's own heart. And this isn't to justify the behavior. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's just so that we can understand that each person, including ourselves, is here for the journey of becoming, right? It's the journey of unbecoming and the process of becoming. It's not just about the end destination. And sometimes we can fall victim to wanting a finished product, not realizing that we're not the finished product ourselves. And so this may be a man whose flaws follow him. This may be a man whose, past kind of sneaks up on him. But nevertheless, this man is in search of kind of perfection. He's the type that keeps searching, keeps looking, keeps striving because he wants more. He wants deeper. Now, he can come across kind of cold and emotionally unavailable, but if you experience that, that's either because of just his brokenness, or it could be because he's just trying to protect himself from being hurt. But deep down, this prototype longs for the one. He is such a deep lover and longs to give all of himself to a woman that he can trust. And some of his issues with women may stem from mommy issues, which is why I mentioned the type of woman that would be the best match for him would probably be a woman that is different, has different qualities, or at least that he perceives has different qualities than what he saw in his mom. And so though he may have respect for his mom and love his mom, he may question a woman's ability to really maybe be loyal or be faithful to one man, or whatever things he maybe perceived or was privy to dealing with his mom, whatever flaws his mom experienced. He may try to seek out a woman that is different than his mom. When we think about King Solomon and some of the women he had in his earlier years, the variety of women that he experienced who probably reminded him of his mom, right? He had all these different women, but here we see in the Song of Solomon, the song of all songs. Solomon wrote thousands of songs, but this song, titled the Song of All Songs, he is after this Shulamite woman who is not like Bathsheba. I mean, this Shulamite woman, she is working out in the field. She's been scorched by the sun. She's not living this glorious life. She's having to work a lot. She talks about how her brothers made her tend to, their garden, their field, but her own garden she couldn't keep. And so that's completely opposite from his mom, Bathsheba, who obviously, was very beautiful, was bathing on the roof and had these finer things. And so it's like, in Solomon's earlier years, he was kind of pulling these types of women, and obviously again, in his later years as well. But he was pulling these types of women that were like his mom. But what if it was because of, the trauma that he was aware of? He had to become aware that what his mom did, what his dad did, having his mom's first husband killed, that the mom got pregnant by his dad, and she was still quote unquote married to someone else. And I mean, all of that. So that could affect his ability to be able to trust a woman, his ability to be able to believe that a woman can be loyal. There are all these hidden traumas that we inherit from our parents' traumatic situations. And so, but then we see this shift where he now is going after a woman that kind of isn't like Bathsheba in a lot of different ways. So, for example, if his mom yelled a lot and she came across very emotionally unstable, he may love his mother, but he may seek comfort in a woman. When he's really deciding to go after the one, he may seek comfort in a woman who is more emotionally balanced, who is more emotionally stable. But when he's still in his playing stage, he's the type to use women before they can, quote unquote, use him. But at his healed and healing state, he has dove's eyes. He wants that one that he can mate with for life. He wants to be the savior type for his woman. He wants to rescue her. He wants to be her hero. This is the type of man that a woman would really need to be gentle with and delicate, because though he may have this kind of hard exterior, he can be easily hurt. There may even be traces of narcissistic personality traits here as well with this man. Now, going back to the woman that would be the best match for him, this may not be the woman that is the prettiest or that comes from the wealthiest family, the most flashy of women. What comes to mind is the story of Meghan Markle and, Prince Harry. This Solomon prototype is not looking for a woman to match him in the royal upscale, over the top way that he's used to doing it or used to living, based on the way he grew up. He's looking for a woman of a different quality. He's looking for a woman of a different cloth. And so he probably doesn't go after the prettiest, most flashy woman when he decides to settle up, when he decides to choose, because he's had all that. He's had all the glitz and the glam and is looking for more. He's looking for deeper. Now, ministry for him could look like being over like the financials in a church, or the building fund, or some sort of expansion, but on the business side of things. Again, this is a man who carries a lot of wisdom, a lot of understanding, and he may not be the preacher type, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have a very real, almost esoteric relationship with God. He is a lover of God. He's a lover in every sense of the word, and he's looking for a woman who is kind and maybe a little basic too, kind of homeboyish. Probably doesn't wear a lot of makeup. She probably serves in the church and likewise has her own kind of set of hurts that she maybe has experienced from religion or maybe dogmatic, unkind leaders or what have you. And while she may have learned to be very reserved, etc., this Solomon prototype husband is designed to bring out the full blossom of this woman. Okay, so this is this woman in meeting this Solomon type and coming together with him. She goes from, it's literally the Cinderella experience where she is rags to riches, like where she's kind of down working for people and overlooked and overworked, and then it's just the ultimate glow up really in every sense. Because the experience with this type of man is otherworldly, it's heavenly, it's almost dreamlike. These two create a beautiful love story, and the Solomon prototype husband will bring out her truest identity and help her feel comfortable in her body and in her sexuality. This man, again, because he is experienced, he is going to rock this woman's world in the bedroom. Okay, they will be the definition of the scripture that talks about how the marriage is honorable before God and the bed is undefiled. This man is going to adore every part of her. This man is going to affirm the parts of her, the parts of her body. He's going to admire her so much, and it's almost going to come across like him worshiping, the temple of the Lord, where God dwells on the inside of this woman. This man is going to worship how this woman is fearfully and wonderfully made. The sexual experience will be like worship. This marriage will feel like a double portion one, because this man will have so much to give. If you think about all of the different women Solomon had, and then here we get to finally his love song with this one Shulamite woman, all of what he was giving and spreading out to all of these concubines and all of this, these different wives, these different ones. And then he gets dove's eyes. He's captured. His heart becomes ravished by this one, and this woman gets to receive. And it's a beautiful experience, because this is the type of woman that, again, could have experienced being like a work mule, in other relationships, whether it's family or other intimate relationships. Or maybe this woman was underpaid, but this is a woman that is going to have the opportunity to really step into her feminine energy, to really step into this essence of being able to receive, because this man is going to give her so much beyond her wildest dreams. The woman he chooses will experience so much pleasure and love in life. He will push her to her limits. He will cause her to go to the mountaintops, because he wants the type of partner that can be his queen, that can sit in all that he has established for them, based on the favor that the Lord has already given him. This is a man that, he carries so much favor, and this woman is going to love this man so deep. Now, on a side note, I want to mention that this relationship may be rocky, even combustive at times, in the immature states, depending on when the people come together and where they are in their season of development. And depending on the timing, they could even be brought together because of some form of trauma bonding. Because a Solomon type does enjoy a woman that will kind of chase him, and so he may try to disappear and then, reappear, just to kind of gauge if this woman is really after his heart the way he's after hers. This is the type of man that may try to test the woman, because of his previous experiences with women. Mind you, he's dated a lot of women. He's engaged a lot of women. So this is a man who has a lot of wisdom about women, about the way women think, about the way women act. And one of the reasons why the marriage bed is going to be so pleasurable is because this man does have experience in knowing what women like, and he studies women. He's a learner of women. And so he is going to enjoy giving and is going to desire to please his woman. And so he may test her to see if this is really where she wants to be, to see if she has what it takes to love him. And so there may be these dynamics of him trying to prove his love to you and you trying to prove your love for him. But once he feels secure, you can be confident that he is yours and you are his. And you two will grow together. And just like fine wine, the relationship will get better with age. And also, speaking of wine, this is a man who likely enjoys wine and strong drinks. and enjoys fine dining and delectable foods, rich in culture and mouth-watering desserts, So you all having a nice candlelit dinner, sipping on some delicious cocktails and enjoying some music or entertainment will likely be a regular occurrence. And again, because this man enjoys the finer things in life, this woman is going to be a grounding for him. This woman, because she has, where that scripture talks about being raised up in the ammunition of the Lord, train them up in the way they should go, and when they're older, they won't depart from it. This woman carries those kind of old school traditional ways about her. And so because of that, she's going to help to bring a significant balance to his life that will help him to stay on track with the one true God. She's going to help his wanderings. She will help his heart to be wholly devoted to God. And what's really interesting about this to me is that I know I mentioned earlier how he has the type of personality where he's going to want to kind of be the savior for his woman. He wants to be the hero type of thing. He wants to save her, to rescue her. This woman is actually going to do that for him. It makes me think about 1 Corinthians 7:14, where it speaks about the unbelieving husband, the unsaved husband, being made holy because of his wife. This woman has the holiness about her that this man needs. She will remind him why he ain't got to be in these streets. Okay. She's going to restore the stability in his idea of relationships that he likely lost, maybe from what he saw at a young age. Whatever happened in his life to cause him to go after many women, to go after many lusts. I really love this match because this is the type of godly marriage that has the potential to really bring a lot of restoration and healing to both parties.